All right, welcome to week 8 of Wrestling Arts Summer Camp. This week we're going to focus on what I think will be the most common request you'll receive as a sports designer, especially early in your career, and that's for a t-shirt design. Pre-NIL, definitely the most common request I receive. Post-NIL, the volume of requests has just skyrocketed. And that's because it's a quick, easy way to market yourself and generate some income. So we're going to pretend that our favorite wrestler has reached out to us to design for them a t-shirt. Now, before we get into that activity, there's two things I want you to be aware of that are less important for this specific activity, but really important for becoming a great t-shirt designer. And the first is that you want to make it a very collaborative process. When you're designing for a person, the design is likely going to be very personal to them, and they may have a specific vision for it. It's not just designing a cool shirt that features them. So collaboration is important. Up front, you want to understand, what do they like? What don't they like? What elements might they like included? So you get a good first round of mock-ups, and then, you're ready to be very collaborative to get through the iterations. I typically have a lot more iterations for an athlete shirt than maybe like a camp shirt. And then the second important thing is understanding how your design gets translated in terms of cost and quality, right? You're designing somewhat unconstrained, whether it's you're drawing on a piece of paper, designing in Adobe Illustrator. You can basically put anything in the template, but there's a cost and a quality associated with getting that onto a shirt. So I taught a t-shirt design course a couple months ago, and I used this shirt as an example. So in 2003, I was in the Italian club at Penn State. We entered the intramural tournament and wanted shirts. So I designed a shirt. It had a nice crest right here that had 4 colors in it. It said Italian, names and numbers on the back. And I went to the screen printer and said, what's the cost to get this fully screen printed? Because I don't want heat press. And he said, you're going to laugh, but it's going to be like $80 to $100 a shirt, because that's 4 screens here, 1 screen's here, 2 unique on every shirt for the back. I said, okay, what can we do for under 20? Because I told the team I'd get the price under 20. And we ended up having to go with a 1 color screen right here and heat pressing the names and numbers on the back. And a couple people were a little disappointed that we didn't get that cool design for 20. We got something not as good for $16.50. So it's important to understand cost. And the second part is quality, right? There's different ways you can get your design on a shirt, whether that's screen printed, sublimated, direct to garment. All those have a different look, a different feel, and they wear different over time. So it's important you understand those different methods so you pick the right method for your design. So for instance, if I'm doing something vintage, I'm never going to go sublimated because I like the way designs weather over time, and I think that goes well with vintage. A screen printing or heat press works well. If I want something high-end, I'm going to screen it because I think that has the best feel for it. So you want to understand, as an example here, if you look at this shirt, the front, it's over 20 years old. The screen printing is really nice. It barely looks weathered. On the back, you can see the numbers have cracked and peeled off, right? So you want to understand, how the method impacts the quality of your shirt. But again, that's just more for down the road, not so specific to this activity. For this activity, the design brief is pretty short. Want to just keep it wide open for your creativity. And as a warm-up activity, nothing specific in the packet. A good activity is to go out and look at a couple different wrestling shirt makers to kind of see what styles they use, especially for some that sponsor athletes, to look at some non-wrestling sports apparel companies of kind of their designs for shirts, and then some apparel companies that have nothing to do with sports, just to see what they're producing, again, just for some inspiration. If you've done that, you can pull out your template, start designing for your favorite wrestler. So with that, ready, set, design. Thank you.